Great news, everyone. Donald Trump is already tacoing. Now, this was the escape hatch from what we heard on Friday. Everybody's like, Trump's gonna taco, right? He always tacos. He always, that's what taco is after all. Trump always chickens out. It's not like Soko where it's like Trump sometimes chickens out. It's always chickens out. And that's literally what we just got in this Truth Social post, which we'll talk about in just a moment. As we can see already, Bitcoin finally moving back over not just 110, which it broke briefly between yesterday and Friday, but now back to 114. Nice recovery here. Should lead futures to move higher once the futures actually open at 3 p.m. California time. In addition to that, we should look at betting markets and then understand, of course, what was said and what this means. So betting markets were already anticipating a taco. If we go to Polymarket's U.S. tariff rate on China by November 12th, which is just basically 30 days out, we can see that betting markets on the, oh no, Trump's going to increase tariffs, plummeted the odds that tariffs would be between 25 to 40% from 69%, down all the way here to a low of about 19%. However, that quickly started fading as people thought, Trump's just going to taco again. Then we started hearing commentary that the meeting that Donald Trump said he was going to cancel with President Xi Jinping is a meeting that just has neither been confirmed as happening or not happening, which is very different from it's canceled. It's maybe we'll talk. And then we started seeing this go from a 19% chance up to a 50% chance. And then, of course, here very recently, we've now heard this latest taco from Donald Trump on Truth Social, in addition to commentary from J.D. Vance. See, J.D. Vance this morning, he had commentary on exactly this as well. J.D. suggests, hey, we're going to be reasonable with negotiating. And this is all coming in response to China starting to slam the United States. Just as early as, well, Sunday morning China time, which of course is probably, hours ago at this point. Well, not probably, it is, right? They're hours ahead of us. They slammed the 100% tariffs as a double standard. And they started talking about how, like, hey, we just want these basic licenses on our rare earth controls. We're not trying to limit your ability to get material for civilian use. We're just trying to protect our national security, just like the United States is. Meanwhile, you guys have just removed the de minimis exemption on basically everything, which is hurting us. And so China's sort of like, hey, we're trying to be reasonable here. Now, let's be clear, okay? It is China. So China obviously is establishing these licenses, so if there's ever like a war or a larger conflict, they could just ratchet the dial from you're allowed to click, 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 you're not allowed to export rare earths anymore. It gives them a lot of control and registration over where the flows are, who the buyers are. It gives them a lot of surveillance, so when and if they actually need to stop the flow of rare earths, they could do it very quickly. So understand, China is being very cunning here, okay? Like, this is not, China's right in this. China's playing their game too, but, as they should. It's their country to defend, just like what we're trying to do, right? This is a negotiation. But what's wild about this is actually the Chinese are now taking an opportunity to slam our entire political system, which we're going to talk about that and Trump's taco in just a moment, what this is going to potentially mean for stock prices and otherwise. But I want you to see is their argument. Now, this is the basically the propaganda wing of the Chinese Communist Party, the Global Times. Basically all media over there is controlled by the Chinese Communist Party, so it doesn't really matter. But anyway, I want you to see this. China doubling down. We do not want to try a trade war, but we are not afraid to fight one. Willful threats of high tariffs are not the way to get along with China. And following these statements, we have now seen the taco from Donnie T, which my phone locked, so let's unlock that. There we go. Don't worry about China. It will all be fine. This sounds a whole lot like Donald Trump going, don't be a panicking, bye, and then, hyphen DJT, Donald Trump, right? So don't worry about China. It will all be fine. Highly respected Xi Jinping just had a bad moment. He doesn't want a depression for his country, and neither do I. The USA wants to help China, not hurt it. President DJT. See, that's the same way. He's not doing the thank you for the attention in this matter. It's a similar way to how he signed off on basically buy the dip back in April, which was a fantastically timed tweet, or truth, as are many of Donald Trump's actions relative to insider trades. Like, let's not even get into the fact that on Friday, somebody opened a brand new crypto wallet and shorted the crypto market just moments before Donald Trump made this announcement. Let's not talk about all of the fraud and insider trading that is ruining the institutions of American integrity, what's left of it. Let's just ignore all that for a moment and just be grateful that it looks like we are getting taco, which doesn't mean there won't be tariff effects in a lasting manner. We know that we're really just at the beginning of the potential impacts of tariffs. We had a 90-day pause from April, which took us obviously through May, June, and July. Initially in April, we thought it would take 90 to 180 days to actually see the impacts. But then when you factor in all of the pauses, you've really only been at this trade war for maybe 3 to 4 months, which really means 2026 is probably when we're going to see most of the compounding of the actual impacts of the trade war, which does lead to some bad calculus by people who defend tariffs. Like, I'll get messages. I got a message from somebody, and I feel bad for these people, but I'm just going to speak to you, I'm not a politician, so, I'm just going to speak to you as, like, an economist, a financial analyst, and a news provider. The tariffs will hit, and the pain will hit. It's just going to take time. And when people send me messages, like somebody sent me a very respectable message. Thank you for, you actually texted me in our little community text platform, which I can actually put that number up. But I do read these, and I try my best to reply. Here it is. But that's the number if you want. But anyway, they said, hey, Kevin, I've seen firsthand, I know you don't like tariffs, and I get it, but I've seen firsthand the destruction of, like, basically what global trade has done to small communities in America. And the reality of this is totally real. Like, this is true. Yes, globalism, global trade does negatively affect those smaller, unfortunately less efficient towns compared to Chinese manufacturers or, what we saw happen with truckers with NAFTA, right? There are real issues that come from globalism. And it's why Republicans always promote protectionism, because those smaller towns are more likely to vote Republican anyway, and so they want to be seen as defending that part of America. The problem is the vast majority of Americans benefit from globalism in the form of deflation. The fact that now you could get a 4K, 55-inch Amazon Fire TV for $399 is insane. We could never build that in small town America. It would cost us, probably $3,000 just to make it, and it would have to sell for $4,000. It'd be insane. I mean, we're talking about a factor of 10 difference in pricing for solar panels, keyboards, mice, computers, hardware, chips. This is why we manufacture so much in Taiwan. The manufacturing is so much more advanced, and it's unfortunate. And it's not to say that we don't want to help smaller town America. It's just to say economically, globalism helps cause deflation. So all of that aside, what's important to remember in this trade war is we are getting blasted by China for this tariff war, and it's leading Donald Trump to walk back his aggression. Look at what China says here. China argues that the U.S. unilateral actions have dealt a heavy blow to global market confidence, raising concerns that the two largest economies could once again slip into a trade war. If the U.S. claims to seek dialogue while simultaneously escalating unilateral measures and resorting to fabricated justifications and trade bullying, it would only deepen the trust deficit. This is, I think, why Donald Trump's already starting to taco. He's like, okay, we're going to have to, I was a little too aggressive here. Of course, he's blaming Xi Jinping, but Trump was the aggressive one this weekend, for sure, Friday. China's trade and export control policies have always been highly transparent and predictable, and we remain open to trade applications, products intended for military. Okay, we already talked about this with licensing. The United States hypocritically criticizes China's normal regulatory measures, a clear U.S. double standard. China says the United States, or somebody who used to be a former China director at the NSC, the National Security Council, so an American, says the United States is playing 2D chess while Beijing is playing 4D chess. And so really what you're getting is this doubling down of China going, hey, like, we don't want this trade war, but if you want to go, we'll go. And Trump's kind of like, all right, maybe we don't. Because, if he doubled down on this trade war, we'd probably have a Black Monday. And I don't think he wants that. And I think that's why he's already tacoing. So the taco trade is great for the stock market tomorrow. Now, what this is opening a door to, which is kind of sad, but this is all opening a door to China now literally writing op-eds, the Global Times editorial board writing op-eds about how the U.S. government sucks. And what they're doing is they're saying that we're basically playing this judo match with our two-party system, and that every week the shutdown goes on, we're shaving 0.1 to 0.2% off of GDP. And this time is like the worst shutdown ever since 1976, where we've had more than 20 shutdowns, because now, you've got a shutdown where Donald Trump is front and center purposefully doing layoffs. He accidentally laid off a bunch of CDC scientists working on measles research and then rescinded that layoff. That was a mistake. JD Vance was on Face the Nation this morning and he's like, that was a mistake. And it's Democrats' fault. It's Schumer's chaos as far as why we accidentally laid off those people, but we are laying off others just to, keep the government operating. But in prior shutdowns, we've always been able to keep the government operating. And we just temporarily furlough people. What's different this time, and China is making fun of us for it, is we're using the shutdown as an opportunity to literally fire people permanently. And so they literally say, the two-party system was originally designed as a check and balance mechanism, but under trends of polarization, the system is turning into a self-consuming loop. So basically they're saying see, look, the American experiment fails. Capitalism fails. American politics plus capitalism fails because you get a two-party system and nothing gets done and it turns into a self-serving loop of bullcrap. Multiple factors, including electoral redistricting, money-driven politics, and a social media ecosystem, have accelerated the entrenchment of extreme positions in the United States. I agree with this. I wholeheartedly agree that, and this is why I take a very neutral point of view in America. And the reason I do that is because I think vast majority of us are very neutral. The problem is, it's just, you're going to offend people on the far sides. I'm sorry to the, small town person who's like, but tariffs protect us. They might protect 200,000 Americans, but tariffs might protect 200,000 Americans at the cost of 20 million Americans, right? So this is where you kind of have to balance out, what are the costs here? Would it be better to provide stimulus to those 200,000 Americans and then let everybody else have lower prices, for example, right? So those are the debates to have, and I think that's a neutral position rather than the entrenchment of extremes. I think China's right about that. And they argue that basically what we have in American politics is zero-sum thinking that dominates people's political imagination. That's what it is. It's, everything that hurts everybody else, I'm okay with as long as I don't get hurt. And then as soon as you get hurt, it's this is wrong. There was actually a great video on this. I don't know that I'll be able to find it here quickly, but I will look for it. There's a video. It is, here it is. Don't Be a Sucker, 1947. Okay, so I'm not going to play this whole thing. I just encourage you to watch it because I want to talk about the market here. But it's this right here. It's Don't Be a Sucker, 1947, clip from anti-racist short film. And it's really interesting because if you play it, what you'll find is these guys are at a political rally, and there's this guy over here on the podium yelling about how, hey, we got to get the Negroes out or whatever. And then you got, a black guy in the audience who's like, man, what the hell, dude? This is bullcrap, right? And then you've got over here, you've got these guys talking, and this guy's like, yeah, damn right, hey, I'm a union worker, anything that's gonna help us. And then all of a sudden, the politician, the guy up on the podium or whatever, he starts going, and you know who else we gotta get out? Those union workers. And then all of a sudden, the guy is like, wait, what? Now he's talking about me. This is bullcrap. And then this guy leans over and he's like, it's different when he's talking about you, doesn't it? And it's just it's so powerful. It's such a, it's 1947, so it's super old school here, but it's such a powerful message And it's worth seeing because, like, that's how politics works. There are winners and losers, and wow, what a surprise when all of a sudden a politician wants to hurt you, you hate the politician. And this is kind of what China's starting to weaponize, right? But the big thing out of today is, Trump is going in the direction of taco, which is great for markets. It probably means we're going to get a nice rebound. Now, we'll have a full strategy set up tomorrow morning in the Meet Kevin Alpha report. So we'll be talking about call options. We'll be talking volatility. We'll be talking historic volatility to see where there are opportunities and options. So if you want to be part of that, remember you can do so over at the Meet Kevin membership. But it's worth remembering that it's not just this Meet Kevin membership. You could use coupon code Schumer Siesta. But let's talk a little bit about bonds as well and what could happen broadly with chip stocks and otherwise, and just set some ideas up here. Quick heads up. Tomorrow also, Investing Pro, not yet, but tomorrow, Investing Pro is starting their flash sale again where you get 50% off plus 15%. So don't use it yet, but just be prepared for that. Really, really great if you're into like fundamental analysis or even technical analysis. So we'll have some comments on that coming up. But let's think about this. So strategically, look, yields plummeted on Friday because there was some panic that we were going to get a resumption of a trade war. The assumption at this point is that the futures will turn green to offset a 3.5% decline on the NASDAQ, and we'll get some kind of bounce back. The aggressiveness on this bounce back will probably lead the 10-year yield to rise again. So my guess is, and we'll see with futures in a few hours, but my guess is we'll probably see the 10 go back to like 4.10. I don't think it'll go all the way back to 4.15. And I think we'll see some modest green over here, like maybe, and honestly, like modest in response to this could be like 80 bips up on the Qs, which is actually on a normal day pretty damn good. But seeing 80 bips, maybe 120 bips on the Qs, totally reasonable on bounce back here. Remember, though, the market is now going to be primed for all the catalysts that we have coming up. The CPI catalyst, the October 31st and November 1st meeting potentially between Trump and China. So that's going to be a catalyst. The Fed meeting at the end of the month. Are we going to get the release of jobs data before the end of the month? All of those things are going to be catalysts that now the market's like, plus earnings. Oh, crap. Like Donald Trump's Friday tariff warning was sort of a warning shot where, does it make sense to start going, while we're at all-time highs, let's enjoy a little bit of a recovery here, but do we start taking money off the table until we get earnings to confirm everything's good? My opinion is we're probably going to have a harder time now hitting some of these all-time highs while people are a little shell-shocked. Yes, taco is going to help us go green, which is fantastic. But we are going into that era where, all right, now earnings are going to, not only this quarter, but, really the forecast going forward, they're going to start telling us who's really going to be eating these tariffs. And so it's going to take some nuance to go through all these earnings. As usual, I'll be covering earnings as much as I can. If you want, I'm considering it, but if you want, leave a comment down below if I should go live for earnings after the bell. I was thinking maybe we go live for earnings, cover the earnings, and then do little summary videos. I don't know if that's of interest to people. I think most people like market open, but I thought I'd mention that. So this is good. This is a good rundown so far. As far as sort of like geopolitical news, otherwise, so far it looks like Israel is pulling back troops, to be determined. They're saying, hey, we're not going to pull back all the way unless we get all our hostages. So, we actually got to see all the details get worked out here, but so far so good. And you got to give Trump credit for that, So as much as like I like to poop on politicians, you got to give Trump credit for that upside down diplomacy he pulled off. That was impressive, and it really sends a signal that Iran is eating bricks right now. I don't even know if that's the right phrase to use there. But anyway, this gives you a little Sunday update. Great news. And folks, thank you so much for watching. Remember, use coupon code Schumer Siesta if you want to join. And then, of course, the Meet Kevin membership. And if you want to diversify from the wildness in the stock market, check out the opportunities to invest and diversify into House Hack, backed by American real estate. Great quality real estate. We do a great job remodeling our properties. I drove by a rental the other day and I'm like, what? $4,500? And I'm looking at it, I'm like, dude, it's all like original 1970s stuff. This is disgusting. Like, how are you renting this out? And, I'm not going to mention names or put pictures up because I don't want to bag on anybody else, but let's just put it this way. House Hack doesn't operate that way. We provide quality products to our tenants. We want to be America's best landlord. And people need landlords. I know sometimes people are like, but, landlords are taking away a home from another. We're not taking away homes from anyone. We're taking empty homes most of the time, or at least a lot of the time, and we're renovating them into a quality property that people can rent. People are always going to rent. There are always going to be 30 to 40% of Americans who I need to rent because I might only be here for a year or 2 years or short term. I'm not ready to buy or this, that, or whatever. It's somebody's got to provide that service. I think sometimes people don't understand that, but I think that's reasonable what I'm saying. It's also fun to note that yesterday, and I love this, I spent, maybe I'll post some more pictures on my IG if you want to see this, but some of you have been following me on Instagram, commenting on some of the real estate pictures that we're posting. But yesterday I spent all day with Jack just going to different properties, working our renovations. And I think it's so great because, we'll go through our renovations and we'll look at, hey, all right, here's what we got to do. Here's the checklist we got to do. We're bringing product. Dude, I threw so much crap in the back of the Cybertruck. It was crazy. I even used this rack over here to deliver a vanity. And sometimes people wonder, though, why are you doing this? So the trick is, if you go order stuff at Lowe's and you buy stuff for 4 properties at a time, you get a much bigger discount than if you just ship everything directly to the properties, right? So we're just loading up on stuff, and then I load up my garage at home with all the equipment, and then I just bring it. I mean, I'm not going to do that with toilets or things that are ridiculously heavy. Over here's an example. We got toilets delivered, and so you can't do it with everything, and I'm not going to go buy a giant trailer. But if I could go to a store and pick up little junky stuff, I'm going to do that because I need to go to the properties to manage the renovations anyway. My team does the same thing when they're doing it versus me. Here's Jack and I picking up stuff at Lowe's, and we're we're missing a few exterior light fixtures or the lights inside the garage, so we're going to go pick those up. And I love it because I just put him to work, and then when I put him to work, I make him go load everything, and, I pay him or whatever, of course. But I figure hey, it's probably a good experience to learn. And then, of course, after that, I take him to D&B as just sort of a little end-of-the-day reward. We're playing Down the Clown or Break the Plates. Those are some of our favorites over there. Of course, the freaking Down the Clown machine was broken again. This is what pisses me off about Dave & Buster's. They're spending all this money remodeling their restaurants, but the whole top row was broken on Down the Clown. How am I supposed to get the jackpot when the whole top row is broken? It's so freaking annoying. But it's sort of classic. Here's just another house hack photo of, what I like to do is when the painters are painting the interior of the property, we'll put out the baseboards. So that way, while they're already doing, let's say, Swiss Coffee semi-gloss on the doors, they can paint the baseboards. And the benefit of this is when the flooring company comes, the baseboard's already painted. I don't have to paint them after the fact. Then I was joking a little bit with Jack. I'm like, bro, this house got a brand new air conditioner. We don't even have a brand new air conditioner. And I was teaching him a little bit about how furnaces works. That's the old furnace over there. Pretty excited about that. I'll give you an example of a kitchen over here too. Obviously, this is just all work in progress right here, but I think this is beautiful. This white on white and timeless too, which is really critical. Work, obviously, all of these are works in progress. But it's fun. I love it. I'm teaching Jack about the different types of faucets when we're going looking at properties. I just use the meta glasses when I go through too because they sort of become my checklist of things to do or things that I want to see. We even went through a moldy home yesterday, which we loved. They literally had the mold contamination sign and everything. This was it. And then we just started playing football in the back. So... whatever, man, we'll go to your moldy open house. This was it. I don't have video, unfortunately, of the mold part, but you could see sort of a lot of the walls have been removed, and then they've got their contamination fans going over here, and it smells pretty stinky. So I have P100s and stuff in the truck too for when we stay in these puppies longer. But I said I wouldn't show it, but this was pissing me off. I was looking at this rental, And I'm like, bro, I shouldn't show this picture because it's got the house number there. But, maybe whatever. But I'll just show this. Like, this is the, zooming down under the house number, this is the front of it. And I'm like, what the heck? You've got weeds, dead plants, the grass looks like crap, the paint job looks like crap. This is like super ghetto looking, front over here. Like everything about this is just like trash. And I'm like, nah, that's just not how House Hack operates. We want our tenants to like the property they live in. And we think that actually keeps tenants longer. For example, one of the things we're doing is we're actually using a different flooring now. And so we're going to be doing a lecture, actually probably right after I film this, in the property management and rental renovations course. And I'm going to be revealing this new flooring that we have, in addition to like new ceiling fans and stuff like that we're using. But this flooring is actually a little bit more expensive than what we've been used to using, because the previous material that we used, which was about $1 cheaper per square foot, it actually... I don't think the longevity is that great. After about 3 years, we're starting to see some buckling on, some of the edges of the plates. It's probably just because the surface is a little thinner. And so we'll be having a conversation about the, cost versus benefits of that. And I'll be revealing the material that we're using exactly, in addition to like where to save money and where not to save money. Like, for example, these, ceiling fans. And of course, I go around and I just shake my head because then I see little things like this that drive me nuts. I'm like, are you kidding me, electrician? Are you kidding me? The damage to the driver's light. It's like, it's fine, but now I gotta fix it. So it's all right, little things like that. But that's my job, I also, just for giggles, I put up a new American flag yesterday, which I thought was beautiful. The old one was I wasn't very tattered. I try to replace them like every 6 months. And then, of course, while I was up there, I'm like, you know what? May as well give the camera a little squeegee. You just got to get stuff done. You got to get SH9T done, I also heard your comments yesterday. A lot of you are like, Kevin, the children on the side are distracting. So I won't do children on the side anymore unless we're specifically referencing the children. But look at these little cute children. This is all with the Meta glasses. I love this stuff. I just think it's a great way to connect with the children. In the future, like, I'm not the biggest fan of Mark Zuck. In the future, that'll all be different. But, in terms of options, there'll be so many companies to choose from. But anyway, that gives you my little Sunday update. I hope you enjoyed it. Join the Meet Kevin membership over at meetkevin.com. Check out House Hack over at househack.com. And good luck tomorrow.
Why not advertise these things that you told us here? I feel like nobody else knows about this.
We'll try a little advertising and see how it goes.
Congratulations, man. You have done so much. People love you. People look up to you.
Kevin Paffrath there, financial analyst and YouTuber. Meet Kevin. Always great to get your take.